Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I've got another Christmas DIY painting ornament. Make and paint your own ornament on a budget with inexpensive supplies that you can get at your local dollar store, or you might even have some of these supplies laying around at home or in your craft room if you're a crafter. So I'm going to go over the supplies now, and I'm going to list them below the video as well. You want to get a smooth foam ball. I get these at the dollar store. They're one size up from, they don't have the measurements on the package, but they're one size up from your standard size Christmas ornament. You can use a smaller or larger or whatever size you want. They come in lots of different sizes. So make sure that you're getting the smooth foam and not the textured, really rough type of styrofoam. It's got to be smooth foam. You can also get these online and at Michael's, but I found the best price is at the dollar store. And you're gonna also want to have something pokey, not sharp, to push and puncture a little hole in. Make sure when you do it, you're not going all the way through. So gentle pressure, push and twist. And so I'm just using an old paintbrush. So you want to have a hole placed in the top of your ornament so that we have somewhere to put our glue and our hook inside. I also use this hole to place a little this paintbrush in to hold on to it and turn it while I'm painting, so it's quite handy. The next thing you're going to need is some ribbon. I'm using organza, white organza ribbon today. It's about 1 inch. I get this at the dollar store and on Amazon. You're going to need a pair of scissors to cut your ribbon, and I've got some Mod Podge that I'm going to be using to fill the little hole with, and gloss and seal the ball with. There's also another option. In my last couple of videos, I demonstrated how you can use the Liquitex Professional Acrylic Medium High Gloss Varnish. This one's a lot looser, and this one's a lot more transparent when you put it on. This one is opaque when you put it on, but like any white glue, it's like a white glue, but this one's a really high gloss. It will dry completely transparent, see-through, so don't worry if you're using this for the first time and you're scared and it looks like it's white. That's what happens, it'll dry clear. I'm gonna take this and mix it with my diamond glitter I have here and sort of make a glitter glue sealer. That way you don't have to worry about the glitter falling off. I used to, because I just like the way it looked better, applied a coat of the Mod Podge first to my finished ornament, and then I sprinkled on the glitter. It looks a lot prettier like that. It's just more sparkly, but I found that the glitter falls off after a while, so I'm now combining the two, and that way it still looks really shiny and sparkly, and the glitter will stay on there much better. So I'm using an iridescent diamond glitter. You can use any glitter of your choice. I found this one to be really soft and pretty, and it doesn't overpower and cover up your painting, whatever you're painting. So it just enhances it, and it's a very nice glitter to use, I think, for all of your Christmas crafts and ornaments. I just got this at the dollar store, but you can get my favorite one that I haven't been able to find for a little while is the Diamond Dust Glitter by Martha Stewart. That one is by far my most favorite one. It's so delicate and really pretty. But this one works just fine. The next thing you're going to want to do is, well, I mean, it's optional, but I like to prep any surface that I'm painting on with gesso, and this is a white gesso. So to save time, I've already prepped this with 1 coat of white gesso. It's all dry now. If you want to watch how I do that start to finish, showing you how to apply the gesso, I've got that in another video that I'll leave down a link below this video, and you guys can click on that to see. And this is just the Liquitex Basics. Gesso comes, you can get it in different colors, or you can get it just in clear. They all do the same thing. It protects, it creates a barrier between your painting surface and the paint, so the paint stays on the surface, doesn't soak in and dull over time. It also makes the surface smoother. Some people like to lightly sand after they gesso. It just depends on how you're applying it. If you have it really thick and you haven't spread it out softly and smoothly enough, then it can leave a rough surface. So you can sand it or you can leave it as is. I never sand, and mine is not very rough at all. If you do sand, use like a really, really mild, fine sand, fine grade sanding paper, nothing too rough. Let's go over the colors we're gonna need. I like titanium white, so I've got Liquitex Basics Acrylic Titanium White. I've got a Mars Black, so I can make nice contrast and shadow with my bright aqua green turquoise. There's different shades of turquoise. There's green or there's a blue turquoise, either one, and really any color you want. And I've done every single color combination that you can think of, including pearls and metallics and color shifting. I've been painting these ornaments for well over 20 years and selling them and gifting them. They're so much fun. I personalize them, and I've got lots of videos to show you guys how to personalize, how to create a pretty little scene using different colors, brushes, and techniques. So check out the links below, or my winter and Christmas themed playlist. I've got a couple of little dishes here for mixing my glitter and sealer, and also to pour my paint out on, because I don't need a big palette for this. You're using minimal amounts of paint, so just like a little pea-size amount of paint. You don't need to squeeze out much at all, so just a small little plate or a little plastic container, anything like that works, or just use a palette if you like. This is what I like to use for my smaller paintings and crafts. I'm just using a palette knife just to scoop out my white paint with. You don't really need this. Got a few brushes here. I don't know if I'm going to use them all, but these are my go-tos for my ornaments. I like a larger brush for creating the background and coverage of my ornaments with, just to get it covered quickly and easier. You need a large size brush. This one's a number 12 flat brush. You can use a Filbert brush too if you want. And I've got a Filbert brush right here. In fact, this one's one of my smaller ones, between 4 and 6. The size is kind of rubbed off. I've had these for a while. They've lasted a long time and they're really nice. The bristles are synthetic. I really like synthetic bristles. I find them to be just the right firmness. They're not too soft like a watercolor brush bristle, and they're not too stiff. So if you have really stiff brushes, your paint, it's just not going to flow nicely. You're going to pretty much push that paint off the canvas because you're using something too firm and hard to try and blend and paint with. And watercolors are tough to apply techniques with if you want to create an acrylic or oil painting. So I would go for, this is just what I like to use, but paintbrushes are such a personal thing. It's personal preference, but you guys are always asking me what kind of brushes I like and what I use, so I'm just giving you my favorites in my opinion. I've got a little soft stipple mop brush here in case I want to create a little bit of tapping and foliage, so I've got that there. You can also do a tap and foliage with a Filbert, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that. I've got excuse me. I've got a mini Filbert brush here in case I need to create even smaller foliage, foreground, and trees with. And a short micro mini liner brush. So this is for if I want to create fence posts or skinny, delicate tree branches, little dots and dabs for windows in a cottage, or snowflakes or stars. It's a good idea to have a really small, fine liner brush. In fact, I recommend in a lot of my videos to have a few sizes of each brush, and I've got a few tutorials about my top 5 or 6 brushes that I use, color mixing, brush strokes, and techniques. So if you're a beginner painter, if you want to learn more about what types of brushes do what and what you can use them for and which ones I recommend that you have in your collection, check out the links below for that. And I've got a playlist for acrylic painting for beginners. So I think that covers it. Oh, you're going to need some water and a towel. I've also, if you've noticed, got paper towel down here. I've got a craft table I'm working on here in my kitchen. I'm out of my studio today. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up and pour my paint out. So I've already applied the hole here. In my last videos, you can see how I do that, but it's pretty straightforward. Just a gentle push, like I mentioned before. It's an awful loud noise, sorry guys. Don't push too hard and go all the way through the bottom. If you happen to do that, don't worry, you can fill it up with even some gesso, and then once that dries, seal it. You can even just like squeeze in some silicone glue, clear preferably. You don't want anything that's going to yellow and affect your paint. So just fill up the hole with silicone and then paint over it after, sand it if you need to, and you won't even notice it. So I'm talking from experience. I did that a couple times in the past. I'm gonna take a little bit of my titanium white, set that other dish off to the side for our glitter. I go through so much white, you guys, that I just get a big tub of it, and it's a lot more economical to do this, especially if you hit Michael's when they've got a sale on. And Michael's is really good. They usually have, I'm just gonna wet this in here. Michael's usually has sales on paint or brushes or canvas. It helps if you're on their email list too, and then you can be on top of it and get those sale codes and sales as they come in. There's some things, however, that are a little bit pricier there, and these smooth foam balls are one of them. They're I think about $10 for one of these, when I can get a 2-pack at the dollar store for like $2 or $1.50. That's Canadian, so if you're in the States, it's going to be even less. Next color is my bright aqua green. I think of all the ornament color combinations I've done, I'm such a sucker for turquoise. I just love it. I think it looks so soft and pretty and minty, like a very pretty winter color. And then of course I'm just going to use the tiniest bit of black, and remember that this is going to be the top, so don't get confused. You're going to turn it upside down to hold it, and when we start painting our landscape, I'll take the handle out and I'll grip the ball because it's with my hand, because it's easier for painting the details of my landscape, or for just getting the background cover or painted in. It's easy to hold it like this. And I also put the handle back in when I'm adding my glitter and sealer. So I'm just getting my flat brush a little bit wet. You don't want any drips. And I'm going to take a little bit of white with my turquoise. So I'm just going to start pulling, twisting. This is what works for me, and I find to be easy, or the easiest, but I mean, you can do it any way that you want. I like to make the top a little bit lighter. So for the top, I'll take more white, and I'll kind of line my brush up. Take a little bit more here. Halfway on the turquoise and halfway on the smooth foam. I'm going to pick up more turquoise now. It's a little bit different filming these tutorials than it is when I'm working on a canvas that stays in one place. So I apologize if this is a bit all over the place. I'm trying my best to make it easy to watch, but it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, I'm gonna mix in some white now. So you see we've got an ombre effect starting already. The idea is to have it darker in the middle and then get lighter and lighter. I've got a lot of paint starting to build up and dry in my brush already, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of water to help loosen that. A little bit more white. Line it up halfway, and then it just gradually fades off to white and you don't really have any harsh brush strokes. And let's do the same up here. So see how when you hold it with the handle like this, you can just kind of spin it. Works really well. Your bow is probably going to cover up this part. Just going to rinse the excess turquoise out of here. Okay. Now I'm gonna switch over to a smaller brush. I've got my little Filbert brush here. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet. I'm gonna take my turquoise and I'm gonna start in the middle. I like to leave a few spots open. So I'm going to pull around, but then I'm going to leave a little gap like that. And then I'm going to go underneath, pull, pull, turn. Gently push, turn, and start to create a spiral. It works best when you do this continuously rather than a little bit at a time, because it will look more choppy when you do that. Sorry for any noise, guys, because I'm in my kitchen. Of course, I have to have our dishwasher going. It can be a bit loud. And my pets, I've got 2 ragdolls and my little Palm Tilly are all deciding to go nuts right now, playing and chasing each other around the house. Okay, so just a spiral like that, and I'm going to continue adding. This will be where we're going to apply our little snow-covered bushes or fence. Notice how I'm going like this as I'm applying my brush strokes. That helps you create a swirly landscape. Okay, and I'm also going to take a little bit more turquoise here, and I'm going to pull, flick, a little bit more for some trees, maybe some mountains. So for mountains, it's just a little diagonal pull and sweep. Really don't need to do a whole lot. So we'll just add a few pulls and flicks like this for some instant trees back there. Well, the first layer anyways. Now, if you want, you can take a few minutes to dry it off. I have a hair dryer that I use, but this is really important to know because it's smooth foam, it's flammable, and it'll kind of like start to melt and burn. So if you're going to use a hair dryer, have it on the coolest setting and low. And these don't take long at all to dry. So just be really careful with applying heat to them. They're better once they have the sealer and that sealer and varnish on them. But you definitely don't want to have them near anything that's too hot, obviously, like anything on your tree. So I'm going to use this little mini. So I've got the 2 sizes here, remember? So I used this one to apply all this, and now I'm going to use my smaller one, and I'm going to take a little bit of my black with my turquoise. See, like I have so much turquoise left. I could probably paint 3 to 4 more balls, because you could also make lighter shades by adding that, and I've done that before by adding more white, and it's really pretty. You can't go wrong with these ornaments. So I've got like this turquoise kind of dark grayish color that's really pretty, and this is going to give us that depth. So I'm going to start going right under the tree line. Basically, I'm going to go under and partially over all the existing brush strokes that I've already added. I'll apply some to the mountains as well. I'm going to go underneath the spiral. When you get to the end here where it gets tighter, it's a little bit more difficult, so if you want to switch to a little liner brush right there, it'll be easier for you. Okay, so this, I think this looks really pretty already. This is, like I said, one of my favorite ones. This color, and I also really like the light blue violet and my purple violet together. So our mountains, we want to add, we've got that nice aqua turquoise, but I want to add a little bit more shadow here. So this is going to be the shadow side. We'll of course use some white for the other side. And I'm just going to get a little bit of water on my brush, mix up some more in here. And I think that I'll add a cottage or two. So just like any other house or cottage that I've painted, I'm gonna do the same thing. What I find with these balls, when you paint on a round surface, it makes everything more dramatic and have more of a whimsical feel to it. So you just do a diagonal line, 2 diagonal lines. I'm going to make this one come up a little bit higher, the roof line, and then slightly scoop down. And I want my roof to be bigger than the rest of the house. It gives it more, a little bit more character and a cozy cottage feel. And then a little scoopy diagonal line on the side there. Okay, I'm going to rinse this out. I wonder if you guys can hear the rain in this video. It is just pouring outside, and it's such a perfect day to stay in and do something like this. I'm just going to slide my brush side to side. I'm just using the little bit of paint that's already there. Well, what I want to do next is just take straight black, just a little bit. Remember, you don't need a lot. And I want to create a really dark contrasting shadow right under the roof line. One right about there. And then just a little tap, 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 tap. And then those little taps will kind of make it look like it's a log cabin. And then I'm going to take the edge, or you can use a liner brush for this too. I'm just going to create a little chimney. So just a little line like that. and then a little line diagonally off that follows the lines of the roof lines for our chimney. Rinse my brush out. Now this is a little bit thick, so I'm just gonna push off a little bit of that paint and then pull. Balance that back out. And I'm going to take a little bit of my white and my turquoise. Gonna push, fan, and flatten the end of my brush. And I'm just gonna add or pull in some little lines here. It might be a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit too wet to do that, but that's the idea if you want to make it. I'll try the opposite. I'll use a little bit of black and that dark green grayish color. Once it's dry, it's easier to do that. This is still just a little bit wet. You can come back to it later. I've got a few little lines there though, I can see that. I'm gonna use my liner brush now, and I'm gonna add a little bit of this turquoise here to part of my chimney. And then take a little bit of white. Tap and kind of dab and make it look like there's a little bit of smoke. Some smoke coming out of there. Gotta have a bit of smoke coming out of your chimney. It adds so much to your little cozy. Well, it makes it look nice and cozy. So I'm just gonna use some white for my windows. And because this is so small, don't make your windows too big. If you happen to, I always like to have one like in a loft up top there, a little one off to the side, and then a little door. And I'm gonna outline these. I'll frame them in, give them some wood frames with, or trim with my black, because that's the contrasting color that will show up the best here. And then I'm gonna add 3 little dabs here. I'm not trying to make it look like a detailed window. It's much too small and far away for that. You just want to have little dabs like that. That's all you need. Without washing my brush off, I don't have a lot of white left in there. I'm going to go right into my black like I mentioned. Now I'm going to add a little bit more to my chimney here just to make it look a thicker and more substantial than the shadow. You don't want the shadow and the chimney to be the same tone, otherwise it won't look like a shadow. The shadow's got to be less, so a little bit more transparent and lighter. So like I said, some black. Maybe we'll add some shutters, and all I'm doing is adding little lines, tiny little doorknob there. And let's go off to this side. 2 little lines. And rinse that black out of there, dry my brush off. And I'm going to take a little bit of white and add not only a highlight but some snow. This is going to dry a little bit darker. I'm just going to pull on a slant like this. I don't want to go over my chimney. Definitely don't want to go over the shadow from my chimney. Maybe there's some snow on the little log ends on the end of the house. Just gonna soften that a little bit. How are you guys doing so far? Are you guys all following along okay? If you have any questions or any comments, suggestions, leave them down in the comments below this video. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. The next thing I want to do is work on I'll work on my trees first, and then I'll add the little bushes and snow on everything else. So I'll start working on the trees. Once I add, I'm going to do the trees in like the gray mint turquoise color, and I'll be using, because these trees are small, I'll be using my smallest Filbert brush, of course, and then I'll add the snow to everything after. So I'm just going to do a line. And your trees don't have to be perfectly straight up and down. I love trees that are kind of leaning and crooked looking. And then just light little taps, leaving some spaces in between. Okay, maybe I'll add another one right here. Just gonna keep going. Start to make them smaller so I create some more perspective. Perspective in landscapes are crucial. That's what makes your paintings really interesting, your scenes. Okay, so we've got our mountains there, so I'm going to leave a space. And I like to add a bridge. You guys can paint anything you want, of course, on your ornaments. But these are the scenes and things I'm drawn to. Kind of old-fashioned looking Christmases and those old types of bridges. And I'll add some trees around. I'm gonna add a little tree kind of in front of this one. Maybe one, I know I've got my mountain there, but I'll add a tree here. Make this more in the foreground. I think this looks pretty so far. I just, obviously love painting these so much that I never got sick of it. I painted them for over 20 years, like I said, and every one was an original painting. So make sure you price yours. If you're going to sell them, you've got to think about that. They're all original mini paintings. But yeah, everyone's brand new. They're all a little bit different. Even if I'm painting the same scene, even if I try to paint one identical to another one, it's never going to be. They're always a little bit different. And that's what makes them so unique and so original and special. All right, so there are the trees and my little bridge. I may add a little fence right in here after, but I need to add my snow base first, and then if I add a fence, honestly, I'm probably going to, because I think that it's just calling for a little fence right there, and I think that really adds to these little ornaments and landscapes. I'll add the fence later on towards the end. So I'm just going to rinse this out. I'm going to dry this off, and I'll be back in a few seconds and we'll add our snow. And just like that, it's all dry, and I'm now gonna take my handle out of there, slash old paintbrush. I'm gonna add the snow now. I'm also gonna add a little bit more smoke coming in out of here with my little liner brush. Make this a little bit puffier looking. So a little bit of water to help loosen that up. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of white and just go around the edge here. Add a little bit more in case sometimes it can fade. I don't know, right now I'm just thinking I want a little window in the door, so I just added 2 little dabs like that. Maybe a little bit more heavy snow up on the top. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure that brush is clean. I need to remind you guys, because it's easy to forget, especially if you're a new painter, make sure you're washing your brushes out when they're not in use, because trust me, it doesn't take long to dry and ruin a brush. Okay, I'm gonna go back over to my mini Filbert brush now, and we're gonna start applying our snow. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of white. And I'm going to start with the trees first, because I need to rest my pinky down here, and if I start adding the snow down here, I'm going to get it all over, wet paint all over my pinky. Okay, I'm just going to start at the top. It really helps having a small brush. And I got a big set of these on Amazon. They came, I don't know if you can still get them. I got them a few years ago. I know you guys are going to be asking, so have a look on Amazon. But they came in a really big set with like 30 different brushes, all different sizes, fan brushes, liner brushes, round brushes, dagger brushes or angle brushes. The only brushes that didn't come in the set were mop brushes. There were no stipple or mop brushes, but you guys know if you've been watching me for a while that I go to the makeup section, and that's my little secret. I know maybe there's other people out there that do it too, and have discovered that makeup brushes, blending brushes or blush brushes, whatever you call them, are the best. You can get ones that don't shed, and they make some really nice makeup brushes. And that's what this is from, a set that I got on Amazon, and I got them as makeup brushes. I never thought about using them as paint brushes. I got them because I loved the iridescent handles on them, and there were so many that came, and I'm like, I really don't wear a lot of makeup very often, so and I was somewhere else without my painting supplies, and I thought, okay, well, I really want to paint right now, so I just started using them, and that's how I discovered them. And a lot of you guys, there's remind me if you don't see a link below for those. I don't have an Amazon store, and I'm not sponsored in any way by them, but I just like to share stuff with you that will make your painting more enjoyable and help you. You need proper paint brushes to use, otherwise you're gonna hate painting and learning how to paint. I'm just gonna come off this edge of my mountain and add the snow. Look at that, how quickly we can make something look like a mountain and 3D. Just very simple like that. And then add, this is a nice spot to add a little sun. That's a big sun. I'm gonna make that a little bit smaller. Sun or a moon. I guess this looks more like nighttime, doesn't it? It's the same technique though. Okay, Okay, so I took a little bit of that off, and then actually liner brush really quick, just hop over and do a little dab of white inside the center. Okay, I'm going to continue over, working our way around this magical little winter wonderland. If you guys are here joining me for this live chat, I want to welcome you and say thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate your donations through Super Chat and Super Stickers. All of that helps me afford to do this full time and more often for you guys. Thank you for all of your comments, just all the support from each and every one of you. And if there's anybody out there going through a hard time right now, and many of you are, I want to just let you know that you're not alone, and you'll get through it. And there's lots of ways to deal with going through hard times, whatever it is you're going through, health issues, depression, loss. But I found for me, and there's many ways of dealing with it, I found that painting or crafting really calms the mind, and it just helps you kind of get back down to earth. And it's a nice way to spend time, and it's good for you to learn new things. So if you're just watching now and thinking, I can't paint that, I don't know how to do that, you just got to start. It takes practice, and it's very rewarding and fun. So I invite you guys to my channel and encourage you to learn to paint with me. I think I want to add maybe a little crescent moon right here. You can have different scenes going around your ornaments. I'm just gonna go over to my liner brush. There we go. Maybe a few little stars. We've got our snow on the trees, and it looks so pretty. We can start coming down here and adding some snow to the foreground. Maybe I'll demonstrate as soon as how I've got this brush here. You guys want to see how to use this? You probably do. I like to give you guys different options and pack my videos, each of my videos, full of lots of techniques and info. So this gives you more of a rounded, puffy texture and brush stroke. Yeah, I like this. I like this better than that Filbert brush for this specific look. So I want to apply the snow above and partially on the turquoise that we had originally added, right? Our first coat of turquoise, and then I came in with the gray turquoise for our shadows and contrast, and now for our highlights, snow and contrast, the white. So I'm gonna come right over here with our shadows are gonna be where our little river is. Let's just kind of dust a little bit of white that's left over in our brush. Light little dry brush there. And then it'll look like frosty water because of that frosty look. And you're just going to continue. So at this point, there's enough white down here already that it would be a waste of time to add white on white. We've already got that there. So I think that I can come in and start adding some more details here. One being a fence, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna hop over to my little handy liner brush here. I'm gonna take some black, more black than turquoise this time. And I'm gonna start my little fence closer, my lines closer together, and then gradually start spacing them out wider. This is for perspective. A little bit thicker. Need a little bit of water on my brush here. A little bit of water, guys, will help. Taller, spaced apart wider, and thicker. And then you get that perspective. So it feels like we're standing here, kind of, or it brings it more into the foreground, I guess. Okay, then we're gonna add our little lines that go through. You can do one or two. Then we're going to add a snowy highlight. So I'll take straight white, make sure I don't have any drips that are going to interfere with me adding this. Add some snow, a little lump of snow on the top there. I guess you need to decide if you want those boards behind or in front of the posts. I think it's easier and it looks better to have the posts in the front and the boards behind. Okay, very gentle, less pressure. Well, you don't really need to use any pressure at all. And then in between, we've got that bright snow. We'll have a few little lines like that for some highlights. I'm wondering what else I could add here. Oh, I want to add a few more details to our bridge here. So I'm going to go across, top, kind of wish I had room for a lamp post. But I feel like I might cover up too many things if I add a lamp post. A bench would be nice. We could try to add a bench. Well, I could try to add a bench. I don't know if it's gonna work, but you guys can have fun watching me either fail or succeed. And if you guys, anybody watching interested in purchasing, finding out how you can purchase any of my original paintings, connect with me on Instagram or Facebook. I just wanted to add a little bit more here. And now so more black, but I'm going to come right underneath the top with my turquoise. I just want the underneath part of the bridge to be all black, so that way it really looks 3D. So I'm going to attempt to paint a little bench here. I'm not looking at anything. I'm just working on going by off of a memory of the bench I painted the other day. And I shared that tutorial here if you guys are interested. It's a red bench covered in snow with beautiful wonderland landscape all around it. So I'm just gonna try and paint this really small. a little line diagonally like this, curve around on an angle, I'm going to add a line across there, or like a skinny rectangle on an angle. And then the bench itself. So we've got the little legs. We're gonna have some snow around them so that it doesn't look like this is like just sticking on there floating. We've got to get this set in, right, so that it looks stable. And I like to make ornate, kind of curvy looking, swirly details. That one we can't see because it goes over. I'm gonna add some snow here right away. Snow covered on the top. And before I can add the other arm, I need to add the snow to the seat of the bench. Now, if you're having trouble with small detailed things on ornaments like this, there are paint pens. There's options out there. I just really like a paintbrush. So I'll do it the hard way with a paintbrush. Just because I'm stubborn, I think. Really. Okay, now I'm going to take some white and add it to the bench. I'll do it in little lines like this. Maybe I'll add a little bit more here. I don't know if that looks like a bench. Let's see if I can fix this. And I guess it helps if I have the other one coming down here. That's all right, I guess. I'm gonna try and add a little bit of snow. Just a little bit to cover that one up there. And a little bit more snow at the base. I don't know, what do you guys think? It's kind of fun to try anyways. I don't think it's too bad. I'm gonna leave it. Well, why not go for, you know what? I'm feeling so creative and having so much fun right now that I think I'm gonna, maybe I'm just feeling brave right now. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna add a little lamppost. Where am I gonna add the lamppost? Maybe this side or this side. If I add it on this side, it'll really put that bridge more in the distance. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start with, let's decide how tall we want it to be. It should be pretty tall. Well, I'll add the inside of the lamppost right there. Then I'm gonna take my black. I'm gonna have to pour out a little bit more black. I'm using more black than I normally use because I'm painting more things. And a little triangle, so a little oval with your white, and then a little triangle on the top, a little tiny line on the bottom. You want your line on the bottom to be shorter or narrower than the one on the top. So just make that a little bit. So far, so good. A little bit more, just a little bit of water will help lengthen my black paint. Oh, I like that. See, whenever you have ideas come to you and you're scared, but push through that fear and just go for it, you just might surprise yourself and be happy that you did. In this case, I'm really liking this. This is so much fun. I hope you guys are following along and painting this with me. Be sure to share yours wherever, well, Instagram, Facebook. I've got a Facebook group, a private Facebook group. I've got a private Facebook group, especially just for my patrons. But I'll try to remember to leave links below. I love seeing your guys' paintings you do when you follow along with me. I'm just gonna do a little line right there. And I'm gonna add some white now for some snow and highlights. So if there's any painting out there from a tutorial that I've done, you can paint it on an ornament. It's going to take more time and a lot more patience because it's so small. I painted on really, really big, the biggest size you can get of these. Tons of continuous landscape and scenes all the way around with lots of glitter. And then what I think looks really beautiful is making it a centerpiece for a table. You could have it inside a wreath, kind of like up higher, so it almost looks like a snow globe. And then I also apply a big ribbon with a little pretty chain and hang it from a chandelier, and it starts to kind of spin around, and it looks really, really pretty as part of your Christmas decorating. So I've got enough space here that I'm not going to personalize this one, but if you guys are wanting to personalize your ornaments, be mindful about leaving some area where you've got room to do that, right? If you had stuff like this, a house or objects all the way around, it's going to be really hard to make your name, date, or whatever you're personalizing your ornament with stand out. So you need a little area like this that doesn't have too much going on in the background. I would choose black or my dark turquoise for the name I'm adding, and then I would use a little bit of white to highlight. So exactly the same method and technique as the fence. And I use a little liner brush like this, which is kind of tricky. So you can definitely use a paint pen. If you're using a Sharpie, I've used Sharpies before, but they do some funny things. They interact not so well with varnishes. So you might want to do the Sharpie after, or just not use it at all. But I guess it depends on what you're using for a varnish after. But I found in the past, especially with resin, it'll just make it blur and kind of, it ruins it. So I like to use a little paintbrush to do that. I'm gonna sign this before I dry it all off and add my glitter. So I guess you will see how I do this. And my signature is not the best. I think it's a left-handed thing. We're known to be artists, but our handwriting and printing for some reason is super messy. So it's really tricky for me to make a nice signature, but I'm gonna try here. So a little bit of water. Oh, need a little bit more here. don't want to make it too big or necessarily too, I just don't want my name to take away from the scene and overpower anything. So less is more. Make sure you sign your work though. And I like to date it. So I don't know when you guys are watching this, but it's 2021. And okay, here we go. Cute little lamppost, bridge, and my attempt at a bench. And some mountains, little cottage and fence, crescent moon, full moon on that side. I'm gonna dry this off, and then I'm gonna stick this guy back in here. And actually I'm gonna do that right now. Makes it a lot easier to hold on to dry. And then I'm gonna apply our glitter. And I'm gonna do the Mod Podge this time. So I'll be back in 2 seconds. I wanted to show you guys a few other ones that I've done here. Got our snowman one. Oh, they're rolling all over the place. So we've got a pretty, this is what they look like all finished. Very sparkly and bright, and the brightness comes from taking that time to add the gesso primer first, or to prime your ball with first. And then I did a cute little snowman, so I've got tutorials for all of these. Our happy snowman with some trees, a bridge, a mountain, and they all have that fun swirly end to them. This one is for my grandson Zach, and so you can see how pretty purple this one is. This one's my favorite color combo. I love the purples and the blues. And we're ready to mix up our Mod Podge. Remember, you can also use this. We've got our pretty glitter here. Just pour a little bit of that out, and then we'll stir it up. My flat brush. All that glitter will come back. It's pretty thick, kind of pasty-like. I'm going to start at the top. Don't brush too much in one spot, otherwise you do have the chance of disrupting the paint underneath. Even though it's dry, it could start to react. Turn this over here. Get the bottom. I don't want to forget about the bottom of the ornaments. They matter too, especially if you're wanting to hang these up higher. Then when you see the bottom, you'll still see something pretty. Okay, so I think I've got it all. If I've missed any, then I'll just add it after. Okay, I'm gonna make sure you wash your brushes out. Some clean water here. And I'll dry this off and we'll start working on our bow. Okay everyone, so it's just about all dry. There's some thicker areas in here. It's dry on the surface, but wherever it looks a little bit cloudy and white like this, it's gonna dry completely clear. It's been about 40 minutes since I applied it, so it's taking a little bit longer, just like I said, in those areas where it's a little bit thicker. But you can see how pretty it looks. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys now how to make the bow and add it to the ornament. Now you can use a glue gun, hot glue gun, or clear silicone or white silicone that's non-yellowing. I'm just gonna use a little bit of Mod Podge. It'll take a little bit longer to dry, so I'll just gently, carefully pour a little bit out inside the hole. And we've got our hook here. Now these are just plain Jane cheap hooks that we've all got and you can pick up at your local dollar store. There's other options out there, of course, if you want to spend a bit more money, or maybe you have other options that are the same price. This is just your basic one that I know most of you have them. So this is what we're going to use. And really, when it comes to hanging it on the tree, you're not going to see the hook, you're going to see the ornament. The hook's not going to show up, but for display purposes, if you want to go with something a little bit fancier, there's lots of options out there. I recommend the longer ones like this. You can get ones that are half the length, but these ones are better. They give you, because the ball is this size, you need something a little bit longer so that it can hang properly on your Christmas tree. So we've got my organza ribbon here. I'm just going to snip off the end here where it got a little bit frayed. This is my classic ribbon that I've been using for over 20 years. I like the organza. I think it's very delicate and pretty looking. I like the white. You can get it in different colors. You can get the gold edging, the wire. So many different options out there, but I found this one to be really pretty. It just adds to the ornament rather than take away. Some of them are a bit too shiny and they can kind of make the ornament look a little bit on the tacky side, I guess you would say. Anyway, it's personal preference. So what I like to do is make the bow before I cut it. That way I'm not wasting any material by cutting it beforehand, and I'm not making it too small accidentally. So sometimes if you just think you need a certain amount, you'll cut it, you'll make the bow, but realize that it's too small because you didn't, or it's too long. So anyways, this works best for me. I like to leave about 2 inches before I start, and I just fold it over, gather it and pinch it, and then, oops, just like you would tie a lace, right? Just a regular bow like this. I fiddle with it a little bit just so that, do it gradually. I kind of pull those ends gradually and then adjust with the length of the ends here. So I'm gonna, it doesn't matter if you go a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be the exact same length. And I think that's gonna look really pretty. So you wanna decide where you want your bow to face. And I think I want mine to be here because this is my favorite side of the ornament. I'm really liking the lamppost and my little bench. Even though my bench is not perfect, it's artsy and I like it. So I'm gonna take one of the ends here. I think I'll take this one. It's a little bit narrower and I won't have to push so hard into the ornament. And you want to just go in the center knot there, pull that and loop it through, pull it up, turn it over, and then gently push, and then pull it up a little bit. So then adjust exactly where you want your bow to be, and then you can apply a little bit more glue after. But that's it, it's all done. And I'm gonna add this to my collection. And if I have time, I've got a few requests and tutorials. Oh, these look pretty together. I'm sitting here wondering and thinking about like what color combination I want for my Christmas tree. I like all the colors, so I can never narrow it down. Anyways, this is gonna go along with all the other tutorials in my winter and Christmas themed painting playlist. So have a look, check it out. If you love Christmas as much as I do and making crafts and painting, then you're gonna have a ball. Literally, no pun intended. Have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody. Stay happy and positive and creative out there. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave a comment below, join my other social media, Patreon, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm happy to have you, and I'll see you all soon in another video. Merry Christmas. Bye.